Hey guys, how is it going? Welcome to another tutorial where we'll be looking at how cinematography really plays a major role in your final product or final output or your final animation or rendering. There's no animation here though, this is a still. So the scene is fairly simple. Okay, first of all, when we talk about cinematography, there's a lot of things involved. There's the lighting, which creates the look. There is the lens or the camera that you use. There is the overall general look of the shot, and that really plays a major role in telling a story, because no matter how good what we create is, if it can't tell a story, be it motion graphics, animation, or even just still, then we are wasting our time. We're wasting our time. We artists know that very well. And yeah, so that goes for everything, whether it's for Instagram, your cinema, TV, or commercial, or even just a still. So that's exactly what we're going to look into. So without wasting time, let's dive in and see what you can do. So I've got a fairly simple scene in here. This sheriff, I want to believe that he's just found the mafia boss finally, and they're meeting face to face. So that's actually my interpretation of what the scene should be. Because first of all, before you do all these things, you must figure out exactly what you want to convey, the message you want to convey. So that's mine. Probably somebody else is going to interpret it in a different way. So he's looking at the mafia boss directly into the eye and like, yeah, I got you finally. You're going to jail. Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that. So it's just the scene just consists of the sheriff. I have a camera in here. I created two nulls. There's one for camera target and light target. We'll see quickly why that is. Then I have a plane in the background. Today I didn't use one of my Sykes, which always helps me bounce light off the background. So let's just create a Corona sky, and let me disable this background temporarily. Corona sky, and I'll go get a HDRI. So Corona light, let me just name this HDRI because that's what it really is. And let's jump and look, and whoa, let me just get this. I mean, any can do, depends on what you want to achieve. Yes, sorry about that sound, pretty loud. And I think the intensity here is way too high, so maybe I'll reduce it to 0.5. So it's in the forest in Dallas, Texas. I mean near forest, just off the road, off the highway. Here's our camera. So let's just give it a Corona tag. If we can find that is extensions, Corona camera tag. So basically this is a fairly simple, I mean it's the same process. You can use your Arnold, V-Ray, Corona, Redshift, Octane, depends really. There's no difference. Of course they'll be done differently in different renderers, but it's the same, the process is the same. So I'll just fire up the yep, buffer, and we really got our sheriff already looking mean, but the image is too flat. So this is exactly what we are trying to solve. Yeah, you've lit up your image, you have a light on the scene, but it's just there. This thing is not saying anything, it's just sitting there, it's just not telling us anything about this guy. So we could start just by maybe making adjustments on the camera here. Remember, whatever in Corona, whatever changes you make here on this tab over here will be reflected on over here. Everything you make a change on, exposure, shutter speed, whatever, all of them will be reflected here. So maybe we just turn down that HDRI image to maybe 0.3. That's crazy. -1. Yeah, still it just looks weird. And give it a contrast is okay. I just want to get okay, for now this is okay. But then this thing just sitting there, there's nothing too much to it. The sheriff is just there. It doesn't even look like a sheriff. It looks stupid. So if I stop this thing, and I mean, if you want, you can use those flat images, but then they're never gonna tell a story. Our main intention is to tell a story. So I'm just gonna disable this, and I'll introduce a corona light. Now it's down there. I'm gonna bring it up. So I want to see his face from this left side. Yeah, so I want something dramatic. So this will explain why I had created this target. So because we are going to use depth of field at some point, I placed the target for the camera where his eyes are. You see that? So that the focus will be on his eyes. Remember, eyes, window to the soul. Yeah. So we want to see what he's thinking through just by looking at his face. So that's why this camera, I'll make its target to be that camera target, which I'd already done. There you go. Then the light target will be for, constraining these lights to point to his face. So right now, if I go to light target, this light, and I created a target, and I defined the target to be this light target null. You see the light now jumps, and it's exactly facing where I want it to face. And then I can move it to the left. Remember, I just want it to light up his left side of the face. I want this guy to be mysterious. He's the guy who's been looking for a drug lord, who is now found. So it should come from below. This guy is crazy, he's crazy. Yeah, I don't want the left side to be so much seen. So if we went back and let's assume this light is even coming from the tail light of or even the headlight for the mafia boss. He's just parked the car. He's been told to get out of the car. The car is probably on the left side. He's facing the guy head on. So let's try this and see what we got. If we fire that up, yeah, we already see. You see these shadows already creating something that I would like to see, and I like the glint and the reflection inside of the eyes. See that tiny little reflection? That's what I want. However, I have a feeling this light is too strong. So what we can do is, number one, let's try this first. Reduce the size of this light. And if you look at the frame buffer again, now that looks a bit like what I want to see, but the light is way too tiny. Maybe what I can do, I increase the intensity to 75. Again, I'll use temperature because maybe that's a headlight, and yeah, like that. Maybe even further, 3000, make it red. Like it could be tail light from the car parked or something. So that's plate, and there we go. Yes, and I think I want to see that face a little, so basically I'm gonna pull our light a little bit to this side, and maybe a little bit size of the light, hit it again. Yeah, I want to see half of this face a little bit more. So yeah, I like that, the way it's just there, can see his face already. Ooh. It was going the wrong direction, guys. That light should be here. It's going the wrong direction. Let's try that again once more before we do anything else. Light is coming from the ground because he's meeting out like that. I don't want to see this eye, just want to see one. And then the light, assume, is coming from the tail light of the car. You can see this, I like that reflection. Now we're beginning to craft this image, to direct this image the way we would want. So that's from the tail light. Probably the sheriff is parking his trooper onto the right side of the shot. So this is the tail light from the mafia boss. So that being said, let's get light coming from this. You know, I don't know what they call that light on top of a trooper that, you know, keeps glowing from red to blue to whatever. So meaning the sheriff's side we'll be seeing say something like what, bluish light. And there's an image I downloaded that will help us even push that further. So for that reason, I won't even use temperature here. I can if I want to, but I don't want to. So I'll get this light to be just bluish in color, and then a little bit strong so that we can, you know. And so, since we did soft shadows for this light, I'll adjust to make it a little bit bigger. You can reduce intensity if need be. So there you go. And remember, they're constrained to the null target. So let's run that again. And I can't see the effects of that other light, probably because it's way too far. Let's see the position again. Not quite. Let's just make it huge. And oh no, it was okay. We didn't have any intensity. So if we make this 10, yeah, if we make that 10 and go back to our camera and just fire up the FB. Now beginning to get something, and that's coming from the police blare the lights on top of the trooper. Yeah, so we're beginning to get something. So we probably might need some light to focus onto his face. Now to get rid of this thing here, we just need to maybe select both of them and go to visible directly, disable all this shit. We don't need any caustics visible in editor. Now if we open our VFB and play that again, we won't see that white light. It's not visible in the scene. Alternatively, you can use a camera. There's a tag, compositing tag, for disabling that not being seen in the scene. Yeah, and we're getting something. And now this is the point where we introduce sorry, wait a minute. Visible directly, that's fine. Wait. Reflections and refractions. Let me just reintroduce that, except I don't want this. Let's see what we got, because I realized this, the intensity of that light reduce. Okay, what I do not want is visible directly, I guess. Everything else can stay. And then fire up again. Yeah, and we're getting a nice looking image already. So what we might need to do now is get a light that shows us a bit of his face, just a little bit. So that light could probably be somewhere around here, around this space, you know, closer to this side of the face. Yeah, just so then we need to reduce the light for the tail light for that mafia boss car, maybe to 65. And then now we can introduce the other light just by duplicating this, control drag, and I want this to just show a bit of his face. Here, down, there, okay. Is it sitting in the right space? Because I don't want it to light up the hat. The sheriff's hat should not be lit at all. This, I think, is good for me. And then intensity is fine. I won't use any color. It will be temperature. However, I want it neutral. Around 6500 will work pretty well. And the light should probably be tiny. Let's check this out again. Fire up the VFB. Yeah, now I like this. However, I don't want this eye to be that much visible. So, what to do? I'll rotate the light just a tiny bit. Or rather, we don't rotate it. Let's just make it tiny. We want it a separation. We want a line running the middle of the nose, mustache over here to the jaw, and just beneath the heart. So this is the beauty of CG, because you craft these things the way you want. Unlike live action footage, there's a lot that you have to do to get this right. In CG, we just do whatever we want. Love the glint that is showing. So again, this looks good. So we need something that separates this guy from background. So we need some highlights, just a little bit, tiny bit, very little, like that, So he's telling the guy, "Sir, have you been drinking? Do you I?" Driving under influence, Have you been drinking, sir? So we want that kind of look. So I might again duplicate this. Again, we want just something to separate our guy from the background. So it needs to be soft, So this might be here. I think that's a good spot. Let me see. Then this thing needs to be massive, huge. We can reduce the intensity if possible, but we just need it over the shoulders, but pretty tiny. So maybe here. Then if you fire up this again. Now guys, you could be wondering why I'm not using the IPR. It's because sometimes it just hangs on me, and I don't know why. If somebody knows why it does that, you can let me know in the comment section. The IPR for Redshift or Octane never does that. Yeah. So behind him, like we said, let's assume the highway is on the right. So the sheriff has just parked his car. So there could be other vehicles coming from behind him, going past him. So that's what creates this kind of thing. But then again, I think could be maybe too strong. But before we do anything, okay, first of all, I'll move the light a little bit to the right, like so, because I want something over here, just say a glint, should I call it that? And then yeah, I like this. It's a little bit tiny, so you can imagine vehicles coming from behind him. Then something that separates him from the background. That looks good. So now the reason why I created this background plane is because I got another image to represent that. You can use an HDRI image if you want. I just didn't want to, so I'll go get my image. So Corona, it has to be a light material so that it glows the way I want it to. And if I can remember where I put this image, there you go. Here you go. I named it Dallas because sheriff's Texas, Dallas. Yeah, there we go. So I will give it an intensity of 1, There's no need for this color. If we want to mix it with this color, you can drag this mix strength, then you put a color that you want, but I don't want that. So I'll apply my image to my background. Oops, the projection looks terrible. That's because it's spherical. Let's change this to cubic, and then I'll fit it to my object. Now it looks weird. Should I flip it? Mirror horizontally. Oops, is that upside down now? Mirror vertically. Yeah, so this is what I was asking you about. I don't know what they call this thing that sits on top of the trooper, but you guys know it. Lights blinking from blue to red, blue to red, blue to red, blue, green, red, whatever. You guys know what that is. So now, if we fire up our renderer, we should have a nice background where the sheriff just parked his car. And unfortunately, that ain't happening. Why? Because we need to come here, because I don't know which side it's projecting onto or from. So if I come here and I say, what am I looking for? Is that in the object or in the material? If I come here, I say emit on both sides, because I don't know really where the material has been applied. So I'll just, emit on both sides. So if it was emitting from the other side, then it should emit now from both sides so we can see the light. So hit it again, and now we have our light looking nice. Yes, but I want it a little bit lower, maybe over here. This is the top of the car, that is the light, so maybe I'll drag it a little bit lower. This is where the light is. Remember, our window that is rendering is this space. You see this line over here, this one. So it's been fairly cut out. So bring this in and move this. Yeah, I like it where the eye line is. I want to put it where the eye line is. I mean, I could as well do this, but that's too much. And I want that glint just like over there. You craft the image the way you want. You are a director now, qualified one. And I think I'll increase the intensity of that thing, because that light usually is crazy. So maybe 3 will do. And yeah, now it's looking good already. So if with that, I just increase the intensity. Now we are having a nice composition, and it's even, we fetched it the right way. You see the background, lights in the background, those are maybe vehicles coming from far away, or that's like a city, part of Dallas, Texas over there in the background. Our light is there, however it feels like it's blown out. So what you're gonna do, you'll get highlight compression, and I like it over here. So if I do that with maybe 3, now it tones it down again, but that's way too soft. Maybe 2, and our image is coming to life. And now the light for the next to the face, I need it to be a little bit brighter. I just need the face shown more, maybe 15. Alternatively, if it shows this other side, we can always decrease the size so that we have a nice glittering light. And this is the point where we also now introduce the depth of field. So our camera already has a target focus object, which is here. So what then we do with Corona camera is you come here. Basically the process is different for other renderers. Override, enable, and I want it bladed, maybe 5. Rotate them a little bit. Settings, I want this to be maybe 2.8, f2.8. That's a good lens. That's a good Sony lens. So now again, if we fire up this guy, Remember the focus, we place the focus object on the eyes. Yeah, so you can see how nice this is turning out. And you see our focus is on the guy's eyes. He's enraged, like he wants to arrest the mafia boss. Finally, I found you, motherfucker. I found you. So now let's go. However, I think this is way too much. I don't know. Yeah, so I can reduce it by increasing the number. The higher you go, the more clear it becomes. So you guys know how these cameras work. Maybe we do f4, so it's not so deep and so intense, so to speak. But you see, we're already looking like we are in Hollywood, you know. Yeah, so stop it. I'm actually liking this look. I don't know, let's try 4. If it's not cool, we'll revert back to 2.8. But yeah, we're already looking good. We can't see that trooper so much. We see his eyes. He now wants to arrest this guy. And then we have this hand over here. The tail lights for the mafia boss car is like, you know, reflecting onto his face. Guys, let's be honest. You tell me if I'm wrong. Does this image look like the Hollywood production level? You know, I mean, like, look at what we've done in just a few minutes. And yeah, so I would encourage you to take your time. Sometimes this thing, we have a lot to do. We have a lot of client work to deliver. But if you just do it so quickly and throw it out there, there will not want to be a difference between you and somebody else who's just coming. You must show your part of being the artist, the good artist that you are. And so I'm going to render this out finally. Yeah, so cinematography is a very, very important thing. And that's why sometimes you look at people like, one of my favorite guys is Quentin Tarantino. This guy is crazy how he directs, and he's one of the guys who really inspire me a lot. So, I mean, you can check this guy on YouTube, and he's the guy who directed Django, you know, the D silent. So yeah, it inspires me a lot, and that's where I draw some of my inspirations from. So I'm gonna go and output the final render for this image, but just before then, we need something called I need vignette, just to darken these corners and edges. So I just want you to pay attention. Look at over this space. If I turn it to maybe 3, you see that? Now we even look more cool. However, I have a feeling that's too strong. Maybe half, 1.5 will do. Yeah, we can still see the badge just a little. And our image is looking like we are the professionals that we are. Like this tiny detail over here. Yeah, and the backlight is still bringing something into the scene from what you can see over here to separate our guy from the background. Did I really, was it blocked? Let me just if it's behind the card, then that's why we don't. Yeah, it's behind the card. So if we pull it over here, then we should say exclude, so it doesn't affect our card at all. There, even though the light is facing forward, that should not be a problem, because I think I lost my highlights on the coat or something. So let's do that again. I'll reduce the vignette further to 1. Yeah, the light is back again. That's what I wanted. Remember, emitting from the back. And yeah, so I just turn it down a little, just a notch, because I think it's becoming too strong. So maybe 5 will do. Yeah, So guys, I'm gonna render the final image, then we look at what we have finally. So guys, if you love this video, please hit the subscribe button and the bell button so you don't miss any other tutorial that we're gonna post next. As you can see, we've really achieved really an image with depth, and it tells a story. It looks nice. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button, like and share. Till next time, see you around. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate. Bye bye.